Hey, welcome back to the SBP podcast, Mobile Filmmaking. I'm your host, Susie Botello, and you are listening to episode 186. Hey, Reka, how are you?
Hi, Susie. I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Fantastic. Now that we get to talk again. Listeners, this is Reka Shikli. She is a director, writer, and editor. And you're also an actor now too, right?
Yeah, and a producer.
And a producer, which means she's got the bucks to pull it all together. And the wills. Reka, you were in our film festival last April. You were there with a short film called Disquiet. Yeah. Which was shot with an iPhone 11. You know, I'm just refreshing your memory here.
Yeah, thank you.
And the really cool thing I really enjoyed was, well, of course, the film was obviously something I enjoyed. But also the really cool thing about it was that your crew was your entire family, basically. Meaning, you know, cast and crew, yes, I should say.
Yeah.
But even though you're from Canada and you all came from Canada, your sister and your mom.
Yeah.
You are now, where are you right now?
I'm in Hungary right now. I'm visiting family.
Yeah. So we're talking to you while you're in Europe.
Yes.
Just want to make sure this is geographically correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Why don't you share just a little bit about the film, you know, the synopsis of the film and who played what, who did what on it. But then I want us to share a little more about you. And then we'll talk in more detail about how making the film with your family, what a cool thing that was. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe you've got some fright stories for us. I don't know.
Sure, that would be great.
Oh, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, so the film, like you said, is called Disquiet. It's 2 minutes long. It was kind of hard to put one particular genre on it, but I think I called it a drama suspense thriller or something like that. It's about a young girl who is trying to escape from an apartment without waking the man sleeping in the next room. And
which already sounds creepy.
Yeah. And my sister, Sophie, she played the lead. She's the girl. My dad had a supporting role as the man. And our mom, Kinga, she's the cinematographer.
And how old was your sister when you filmed this?
Oh, she was 13.
13?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she's 10 years younger than me.
Yeah, wow. She's a baby.
Yeah.
She's also really cute, you guys. We'll share photos.
Yeah, she's really cute. She's growing up very quickly, though.
Yeah, I'm sure she looks like she's 16 now. I mean, this was in April when I last saw you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, she's going to be 15 soon now.
Was this her first acting experience or?
It wasn't actually. It was her second. Her first one was on my first short film. That was a small supporting role. Well, originally she and my dad were just going to be extras because we needed a lot of background actors in my first short film. And then in the end, quite a few of the background actors ended up having like small supporting roles. They had a few lines, and so that was their first acting experience.
So it does definitely pay to have a sister in the film industry if you want to get your foot in the door, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Well, I remember during the Q&A you were sharing a little bit about why you made this film. This film was submitted to our Rookie Award contest at the festival, and we only select a handful of films, and I was happy that yours was selected.
So
and that you
we.
could come. Yeah, well, yeah, right. But also that you could come to the festival. That's always very special that you came. Let me ask you really quick. What was the takeaway with you and your family? Because I wasn't in the car or in the plane while you guys were leaving to hear your thoughts on that, on your experience.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. Like, we had such a good time. It was great to have a girls' trip. We all get along really well, and it was actually it was my mom's and my sister's first time being at a film festival, and it's so interesting that they never would have expected to be at a film festival as a filmmaker, or as a part of the cast and the crew. And so they were so excited. I was really excited too, because it was actually, even though it's not my first short film, it was the first one to actually have a premiere at a film festival. It premiered sooner than my first short film. So yeah, it was just really exciting for all three of us. And it was completely new. We'd never been to San Diego before, so it was just great. We tried to do as much as we could, even outside of the festival. Like, just San Diego is so beautiful, and yeah, we had such a good time. We took so many photos. Yeah.
Well, I hope you did, because I mean, it was definitely picturesque. The location is good because SeaWorld is right there. The zoo is not that far away. The beaches are very, very close, within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There was also Belmont Park, which is, it's been on TV shows and films. Belmont Park with the wooden roller coaster.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of, did you guys make it to Old Town, by the way?
We didn't. On our last morning, we went to, Balboa Park.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I almost forgot the name, but yeah, that was really awesome. We enjoyed that a lot. And yeah, the festival is in a beautiful location too, so close to the marina, and the entire conference center there, the entire Marina Village is just so nice.
Yeah. Did you guys get to try some tacos?
Oh yeah. That was pretty much all we ate while we were there. Yeah, because we had the meet and greet at that lovely restaurant, and then we had there was the other restaurant as well that was a little bit closer, where we went for lunch every day of the festival. So we really enjoyed both of those places. It was so nice to have them nearby and to be able to sit outside and chat with the other filmmakers. We had a really good time getting to know everyone. Everyone was so very friendly and personable.
Yeah, I love the intimacy between, the filmmakers and the participants, a couple of judges that came also.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to, get you. I know the weather was horrible, right?
I wouldn't say so.
No, it turned out to be beautiful. I know on Friday, you got to taste a little bit of the San Diego rain, where, it's like, oh, it's okay. It's a little cloudy, but it's okay. That was on Friday on the meet and greet. And then it rained for like a whole 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it never rained again. It was just beautiful after that. Right. So, and Saturday and Sunday were just beautiful. The sun was shining. I mean, I called the clouds, and I'm like, you guys need to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of responsibility as the festival director, I'm sure.
Yeah, gotta have some pull.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get your take on that for our listeners who have not been here yet, and by the way, maybe you can make it to Old Town next year when you come again with a new film.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, there's so much to see in San Diego, and we were happy that we were able to stay for a few extra days. Like, we arrived a bit before and we stayed a couple days after the festival, but there's definitely more that we would love to see, and the hiking is great too. But yeah, I mean, during the weekend, like, our main priority was the festival, and it was so I mean, it was morning to night. There was a lot going on. It was very
I pretty much
exciting.
hold you guys hostage. Yeah, but it was great that you were there because you were able to share that experience together with all the filmmakers, and you got to watch all the films together and support one another.
Yeah.
All the Q&A. You got to see our first ever live in-person recording of this podcast.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we had never done that before. It was just, I sit around at night sometimes just kind of wondering what would be really cool to do.
Yeah.
And I thought, since we have this panel that it actually started about a year ago, almost a year ago, this July.
Oh,
so
okay.
next month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so because they're regulars, I thought, well, since they're already so invested in the podcast, that I would invite them to come to the film festival. Joey Min, we had never met in person.
Yeah,
Ryan,
I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, so that was definitely the first time. So you got to witness that. So you're part of the founding audience. What are the inaugural audience?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, it was great to be there in person, and the energy was great too. Having the three guests and you all in one room. Everyone seemed to be having a good time, and definitely I'd say the energy came through.
Yeah, it was definitely a little different because, I had to keep track of time in a way that I don't remotely, right? But it was definitely so much fun. And of course, there was the red carpet extravaganza with the cosplayers, with, the Sci-Fi Coalition,
yes.
Science Fiction Coalition. Mm-hmm. And that was probably something that in other film festivals you may not get to experience.
I don't think so. I've never heard of such a red carpet extravaganza or seen one before. So it was definitely unique and exciting. We were nervous. I don't know why nobody wanted to go first. Like, we were kind of in the middle of the lineup, and then everyone from the front of the line just went to the back, and we were like, okay, I guess we're going first. My mom wanted to go first actually because she's kind of shy, and she was saying that there would be less people in the room, so that it's actually better to go first.
Yes, as it builds up with everybody, it got louder and louder. There was a lot of cheering.
Yeah.
It's very celebratory.
Yeah, and then we were able to see everybody else too, because we went first, and then we could cheer and celebrate everyone else as they came in. So it was great.
Yeah, in a perfect world, we would have a display screen outside for you all to see what was going on inside. But that was a very unique thing. I make a big deal out of the red carpet because a lot of the filmmakers that came to our film festival were from other countries, and in other countries, the red carpet is not a big deal, but here it is, and it's a very Hollywoodish thing. Yeah. And it's the ultimate reward. Like, we're rolling out the red carpet. You're a star, for you. And so it's, and it definitely gets everybody all feeling awesome before we do the award ceremony. So, it's great. Yeah. It feels like a real celebration. And I think that's one of the main parts why people come to a festival, is obviously for the connection and to be able to celebrate each other's films. Yeah, and you never know, out of the people that you connected with, you may be working on films together. So yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been in touch, and it would be great to see them. It's great to even see what they've had going on since the festival, because on social media. Yeah, and that's the other part of it too, because you've met in person and you just keep supporting each other, on social media whenever you do something, and you get the likes and the comments and the cheer-ons. Right on, Reka. Yeah, definitely. Love it. So let's talk about how you came before the festival. Okay. How you came to be a director and a writer. Which one came first? Like, I'm sure you grew up. Was this a world that you...
I did grow up.
Yeah, right? No, you didn't. None of us are grown-ups yet. But I don't know, because sometimes I meet people, right, in this business, and they say, well, I grew up in this industry in one way or another, in their past experience. And some people just dive in head first.
Yeah.
It was a dream. So I'm curious to share your story. So yeah, just share a little bit about how you came into this industry.
Sure.
And what you did first.
Yeah. Well, I definitely did not grow up in the industry or even near any place where there was a filmmaking industry of any sort. I grew up in northern BC, so pretty far away from Vancouver would be the closest kind of filmmaking hub, but pretty far away, like many hours away. And filmmaking has always been, or at least being in the film industry, was a dream of mine since I was really young. Like, I think I was probably 7 or 9 or something like that. And at first, I've heard it from a lot of people actually, that they think that they want to be actors, because I think, especially when you're a child, that's definitely the most prominent part, I guess, of filmmaking. Like, you see the actors.
Like make-believe.
Yeah. Like, and you see the actors, you don't see pretty much anyone else. All the huge team of people that goes into making a film. So yeah, I initially was interested in acting, and well, I guess I still am, because I just started. I still am, but But so I was taking acting classes and things like that when I was a kid, when I could. And then I've been writing as well since for as long as I can remember. And initially it was poems, short stories, novels, things like that. And then one day I came back.
Short stories to novels. That's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah. Well, sort of, but I've never actually finished a novel. I've started writing several, and I've written like 3/4 of a novel, so very close, but I didn't end up finishing it. But then one day I revisited a short story that I had written a while ago, and I don't know how or why, because I don't think I'd ever even read a script at that point. It just came to me that this story would be more interesting and more effectively told as a film. And so then I basically just started researching how to write a screenplay, and then that became my first script, which then became my first film. So to answer one of your earlier questions, it started with the writing came before the directing. I actually never thought I would be a director, and even for my first film, I basically just wanted to get it made. And then I ended up producing it out of necessity to make sure that it does get made, and I guess to make sure that it conveys my vision that I had for the film when I wrote it. Mm-hmm. And I was going to hire a director because I wanted someone who knew what they were doing, someone who had experience to do it. And then we did get a director on board. But when that fell through, when the director had to drop out, she actually told me, she was the one who told me that she thinks I should direct the film myself, because she thinks that my vision for the film is strong enough that I would be able to do it. And I was like, oh, but I don't know anything about directing. But I did end up directing it, and now it's probably my favorite thing to do is directing.
Yeah, I can imagine so. I mean, if you can write and direct, that's pretty much the ultimate. In the film industry, like the most famous directors. Well, I wouldn't say the most famous, but like say Ron Howard, mm-hmm. right, is one of them. Yeah, and so that's a great start. So you started out, basically you wrote your film, mm-hmm. You thought somebody else would direct it and somebody else would film it and blah, blah, blah. But then you ended up directing. Did you also produce that as well?
Yeah, I did. I didn't, it wasn't fully self-funded. We did crowdfunding, and we had a couple of other investors, but I did produce it. Yeah, I had luckily another producer on board, someone who was experienced and someone who could help me with it, because I definitely wanted to have someone experienced to be able to help me and guide me and help me avoid certain pitfalls and things. So that was good. I did have another producer.
And then you found your crew. How did you put the crew together? Did that producer help you put this crew together and find the original director and all of that? Or did you just put a help wanted ad by your house somewhere?
Well, no, we didn't film. We didn't film close to where I lived. We filmed my first short in Victoria. I did live in Victoria for a little while too, but I didn't have any connections in the film industry. So yeah, the producer did. We had 3 producers fall through actually before we landed on Mia Golden, who came on board, I think, literally a few weeks before we had to film, and so she luckily had connections and was able to help us quickly put together the crew. Casting was mainly online, which is great that you're able to do that nowadays. Definitely without the internet and a lot of recent developments, I wouldn't have been able to produce the film from where I lived, like from so far away, because pretty much the entire pre-production was remote. I basically just went down to Victoria the week before or a few days before filming.
Because the whole process you were doing was the pre-production process,
yes.
But you weren't there, and then you went over there for the actual production.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then do you also edit your own films, or did you?
Not all of them. I do really enjoy editing a lot. I haven't done too much of it, but what I have done, I've really enjoyed, and I would actually love to do more editing, even for other people's projects. I don't quite have the setup yet. The infrastructure, I guess. My computer isn't strong enough to be able to edit like 4K, 6K. There's even 8K now videos. So I've edited like promo videos and YouTube videos and short form content, and Disquiet as well. I did edit. We shot it on, because it was only 2 minutes long. I was able to edit that myself.
Yeah, it doesn't require as much juice.
Yeah.
So by the way, are you on a Apple, Mac, PC, or?
It's a PC, but in Canada, I did a lot of the editing on a desktop, but that was also a desktop computer, but that was also a Windows computer.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody out there has a heart, get Reka a Mac.
Yeah.
Because it works a little better, especially for a longer film.
Yeah.
At least 15, 20 minutes on a lower end. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I think it'll help you, and you can get a lot of free apps that you can use with it.
Yeah.
As well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it comes with iMovie,
Yeah.
And that works fine for doing promo videos and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And
GarageBand.
Yes. Yeah. As far as filming on an iPhone too, it's definitely inconvenient having to go between the iPhone and a Windows computer.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more compatible that way.
Yeah.
So I would say you just basically jumped in the water and swam with the sharks from the start.
Yeah.
And learning as you go for the most part, right?
Yes, I'd say so.
Now, yeah, and you're used to working with traditional cameras, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about used to, but my first short film, yes, was with a traditional camera. It was shot on a Red Dragon, so that was my first experience.
Nice. Yeah, that's a nice camera.
Yeah.
And you've worked, so you've got 4 films now that you've made?
Yes.
And one of them was shot with the iPhone 11, which is the one that brought you to our film festival, correct?
Yes.
And the other ones were all shot with that Red camera?
They weren't all shot with the same one. They were all different cinematographers who had their own equipment, but they were all Red cameras. Yeah, the other 3.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, you're well connected now. And have you built a crew?
Well,
Like, do some of the members of the crew work on
some
other
of them
projects for you?
Yes. Yeah, there is
cool.
actually one person who I've worked with on all, well, not Disquiet's a different one because we shot it on the iPhone and we shot it at home in Fraser Lake, but the other 3, well, the first one we shot in Victoria and the other 2 we shot in Vancouver.
Yeah.
But there is one person who I've worked together with on 3 of my films. And then one of them I've worked together with on 2. So I definitely say that I'm starting to build kind of a group of people, a crew that I really like working together with.
Your film family,
yes.
Reka. That's what it's called. And then when you all get along, people tend to understand each other better because you've worked on different projects together.
Yes.
And then you're just looking for an excuse to get together and work on something together again. And films are the ideal thing.
Yes.
And you just keep building on that. Sometimes some of the film people that we used to work on films every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this pool of people that were constant.
Yeah.
And the way that I got brought in was because one of those people had to go on a trip and they had basically a conflict, with the schedule.
Yeah.
And so they asked me to do it. And next thing I know, they liked me. I don't know why, but they liked me. And I was working on every weekend film.
Wow.
After that.
What position were you brought in for originally? Like, what did they ask you to fill
originally,
in for?
Yeah. So originally, I was just going to be a production assistant.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a great way to start.
And nobody really gets mad if you screw something up as a PA.
Yeah.
Because there's usually more than one, anyways.
Yeah, like it's less pressure. It's a very important job, and you can see a lot of what's going on. But it's definitely the easiest way, I'd say, to get started for someone who doesn't have any connections or anything.
Oh yeah, it's perfect, and you're really helping. I mean, it's like it's. So listeners, there's this going joke about the PA going to get the coffee. It's not that, okay? In real life, the PA is not the coffee person.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the intern. No, I'm just kidding. But the cool thing about it was that everybody saw that I was willing to work on doing whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the cool thing about independent filmmaking too, that, you've got people putting up C-stands and then you realize people in the lighting department or whatever you want, they need some help and maybe the camera person needs to move the camera over here and they've got these bags or what. You're just doing a little bit of everything and you're helping everybody else.
Yeah.
And people, that means that you're connecting with people. And so after that, they asked me, hey, the executive producer, I really liked how you worked on this. Would you be willing to come back next weekend? I'm like, another one? I mean, I didn't realize this was like an ongoing every weekend thing.
Yeah.
And she said, yes. And so sometime during that week, they needed a script supervisor.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, well, okay, I can do it, I guess. I'm not sure what it, and they kind of showed me, but it wasn't like a full-on script supervisor. It was the gist of a script super. It was like, make sure the continuity and things like that. And from that, after doing that so many times, I was at a film festival screening one of the films, and the founder of the film festival, who was well connected in the industry, including Hollywood and stuff like that, said, I heard that you're a good script supervisor. I'm like,
wow,
I don't know. They like me, right? When people like you, they say all kinds of things and they're nice.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, I was being asked to get some real payment and work on a feature film as a scriptie.
Wow.
And then I got nervous because this was feature.
Yeah.
This was a full feature film. And so I remember I talked to another friend because I was doing video production and stuff like that for many years. And she turned me on to a script supervisor who worked on Hollywood films.
Yeah.
And I met with her at a coffee shop. She gave me templates of how to do it. She told me about the stopwatch. She told me about all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And she really took the time to teach me the ropes, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I went, and I was nervous. I was like, oh my God, it's a feature film. Yeah, it had some name actors in it and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. What am I doing? But, Reka, you've heard me. You've been listening to the podcast. Yeah. When people believe in you, the opportunities that they're willing, sometimes you don't know, right? We each have our own perspective, and we're in the middle of the water, right? Yeah. But the people who are not in the water with you can see how well you're swimming. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they had all this confidence in me, and so I pulled through on it. And the production manager, who was also an executive producer and had her own film company, loved that I did a great job. Apparently, she said I did a great job, and I was getting calls from like NBC and things like that. And I was like, "What? Wait, what?" Wow. But I didn't take them because I also had a job. Yeah. But she asked me to go on a film production for another feature film, and I was paid more than my job. And I thought, well, it's 3 weeks. I get to, have some fun. Yeah. And I was a script supervisor. I know what I'm doing now for the most part. And so I did it. Yeah. And so that's, this is supposed to be about you, not me, though.
Oh, no, it's great to hear more about you.
Well, yeah, but I want to make this, the interesting thing is that you dove in head first into this, and you're pulling your crew together. And I think the whole point of this was that I was bringing up this thing, mm-hmm. was that you have people, you build your family, your film fam, right? Yeah. And when somebody has to go, right, or they can't come and do the work, they usually recommend someone else that they know from other films that they've worked on. Yeah. And when they do that, they bring somebody new, and it's a new opportunity to bring someone else. And before you know it, you've got a willing crew, mm-hmm. that wants to work with you. Yeah. And all the hands work well together, and everybody knows each other. And that's what you want, because filmmaking is stressful. Yeah. It's not a piece of cake. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about that. No, not super stressful, right? But on your short film, on the one that you shot with your iPhone, yeah, you had to get really creative on some of the scenes. And I know that you shared a few things during the Q&A, and I'd like you to share them with our listeners here on the making of that film.
Yeah.
Just share. I think you know where I'm going with this, so go ahead and share those stories.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely, I guess one thing that I forgot to mention when you kind of asked about how I got into filmmaking was also that I've been basically making short films since I was very young as well, like since I was probably about 9, originally just using like my parents' camcorder that they had. And then, and I was always working with the people and the places and whatever I had around me. And so that was my family. And we shot a lot of short films in Hungary when I was a child, visiting for summer break. I got my cousins involved, my older brother. And so then the reason that I wouldn't call it the inspiration, but the reason that I decided to make this short film and shoot it with the iPhone was because we had to get it done really quickly, because there was a grant that I wanted to apply for, and I met all of the requirements except for one, which was that you had to have directed 2 short films, and at that point I had only directed 1. And and so I said,
I love this story.
yeah. And so literally I said, okay, then let's quickly make a short film. And because I had been I'd been reading and listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos and just learning as much as I could, and mainly along like the indie filmmaking line. So from a lot of indie filmmakers, I just knew that it was possible to do it in such a short amount of time, and I knew that I could work together with my family, because even though I'd actually never worked with my mom or my dad, yes, I did work together with my dad and my sister. They were on my first short film,
right?
But I hadn't worked together with them in this capacity. Like Sophie had never played a lead, and it's quite an emotional role for her, actually. So I don't know, I wasn't really sure. And she had never particularly displayed a really strong interest in acting, but she was definitely open to it, which I was grateful for, because I wrote the role for her.
Oh, good.
Knowing that she was gonna play the role and that she'd be able to do it. And my mom became the cinematographer. Well, I asked her to be the cinematographer. I know it is possible to direct and be the cinematographer at the same time, but it's just when you already have so many hats on, it's a lot to do, and there's a reason that most of the time.
And your mom has a good eye.
Definitely.
Your mom does. Her photographs, I see them on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know your mom now.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that just I never even considered shooting it myself, because I knew that my mom had been into photography, and specifically iPhone photography, which is actually a really large movement, and there's a lot of people who specifically do iPhone photography and take really beautiful, high quality, just amazing photos. And so she'd been doing that for a long time. So I knew that she not only had a good eye for composition and things like that, but also that she knew how to use her phone, because I didn't. And yeah, so that was the basic idea that was how we got the the cast and the crew together. And then my dad had a role in it as well that he was open to and excited about. And I'd heard good things also about working with like non-trained actors, so I wasn't concerned at all about the fact that they didn't have acting training or that much experience or anything like that. And I think it turned out great. And the reason that it's a silent film and also in black and white is it came mainly from practical reasons, not just because it's artsy and cool.
Even though it is.
Yeah, it is. But basically it's a silent film because I, at the time, did not have the appropriate equipment. I didn't have microphones or anything like that. And I knew from having worked on my first short film, like with an experienced, much bigger crew, that sound is so important. It's probably one of the top most important things in a film. And so I knew that if we couldn't get good sound, well, that wouldn't be good.
You might not have been selected. Yeah. That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I knew that it was basically either like great sound or no sound.
Right.
Yeah. And like there are some sound effects in the film, but basically that was like, I added those in post, like the door. Actually, no, there's no door creaking, but there's like the door slamming sound and the glass shattering and things like that. So I did. There's some sound in it. There's music and sound effects, but there's no dialogue. Yeah. And so, knowing that we didn't have the equipment, I wrote the script so that there would be no dialogue, and that helped, form the story. And the black and white as well was just because I didn't have the time or the know-how really to color grade and color correct, and we were using just like basically just the natural lighting that was present in the apartment that we filmed in, my apartment. And luckily, because I lived there, I knew very well what the light was like at all times of day. So I knew when it would be ideal and where it would be ideal and things like that. But we didn't have any lighting equipment either. And I think, to be honest, I think it could have turned out okay if we would have had someone be able to do, like if we would have done it in color and had someone do the color grading on it. But like I said, because I didn't have time and the grant submission deadline was coming up, we literally just switched everything to black and white, and that was it.
That's the executive decision.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And when your mom, so let me ask you this, because there was you mentioned glass breaking.
Yes.
Did you have to break a bunch of glass, or how did that work out?
Yeah. It's too bad my mom's not here. She loves telling this story.
I know.
It was definitely, it was the part that we were the most nervous about, but it was also exciting. There is a moment in the film, kind of pretty much towards the climactic moment, where there's a glass that the girl accidentally, as she's like rushing by the counter, she knocks a glass off the counter and it breaks. And we knew that we wanted to film this in slow motion, just to make sure that, we captured it, and then you can always speed it up and etc. But because of the shot that we imagined with the framing, my mom and like the camera, the iPhone had to be pretty close to the glass that was breaking. And because we had to drop it from the counter from a height that was high enough to be able to make sure that the glass broke, we weren't really sure what was going to happen. Like, we didn't know how far the glass would fly and all that stuff. And we didn't have too many glasses that we would be able to break. We bought 2 specifically for this purpose. Like, we got them at secondhand. That was pretty much what we spent our budget on. Was to buy these 2 glasses that we could break. And so, basically we had to make sure that there were 2 glasses that we could break, and that was it. So we had to get the shot. And my mom, basically we set up she set up the camera, got the framing right, got the camera rolling, and she was wearing glasses, but also as an extra precaution, she closed her eyes while we were filming, just to make sure that nothing bad happened. She didn't get any glass flying into her eye. I'm sure on a professional shoot, or they would have better precautions, but that was what we did.
What are those shields, those plastic shields that they had during COVID?
Face shield.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think something like that would have been good.
That's awesome. And it worked. How many? So did you have to break both glasses or just one? Or did you say, what the heck, let's do another one since we bought an extra glass?
Yeah, we did have to break both actually because it was a little bit stressful because the first glass actually broke really easily, and we did not get that one on film, or like we didn't get it recorded. So that one, yeah, that was. So we were basically down to one glass, and we were like, okay, this is the one. It has to work. And yeah, the first glass broke so easily on the first try. I think it just happened.
Surprised.
It would just happen to hit at the right angle. But the second glass, we had to drop it probably a half a dozen times until it finally broke. And it was just like,
oh no.
Yeah, we did take after take, and it was just like we'd drop it and it would just bounce around and it wouldn't break.
So there's your film. There's the stress of making movies right there when the glass won't break.
Yeah, there's so many unexpected things that you'd never imagine, and this was one of them.
Was there any others? I know your sister moved around in the room and she had to run and slide under this thing. And I mean, we're talking about a 2-minute film, and I know we have a trailer. I like the trailer. You did a good job at the suspense with the trailer too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to share that in the notes.
Yes.
For everybody to see, because we're waiting on your film to go on, I don't know, on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, that would be the dream. Yeah, it's still doing the festival circuit and still waiting to hear back from a few festivals, but I'm definitely going to be putting it up online after all that, just for people to be able to watch it if they're interested.
Oh, definitely. You know, because you shot it, you know, you were talking about black and white.
Yeah.
I think that is a good idea when you have natural lighting.
Yes.
Because in black and white, you're playing around with shadows.
Yes.
And it also fit with the theme. So, you know, I just wanted to say that was a good call.
Oh, thank you.
For you guys.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I'm talking to someone who knows what they're doing, and I think you've got definitely some really good skills here and talent that shine through on your film. And, you know, like there's like M. Night Shyamalan and things like that, people like that started out directing and filming when they were kids, you know, and they made all kinds of goofy little things. And, you know, later on in life, those things are precious, you know, they're treasures in a way. And you never know where this may go, but it's really cool that you have it, you know?
Yeah.
I got a feeling that you're gonna make a really good name for yourself.
Oh,
you know, so I'm looking forward to that, and I really enjoyed your family. Do you think your sister wants to continue to act, or would you hire them in other? Did she pass the stress test?
Yeah, thank you so much for your kind words, by the way. That means so much. Yeah, I don't think she has an interest in pursuing a career in the film industry, at least at this point. But I mean, she definitely enjoyed all of the experiences. Like, she's enjoyed the 2 films that she got to work on, to be on set, and the film festival experience as well. I would definitely work together with her again. She was really easy to work together with. And I think in the sense that because we're so close, and because I obviously know her so well, I think that actually contributed to us being able to work together so well, because when you hire an actor who you don't know, which is usually or often the case, a big part of the pre-production process and preparing to work together with that actor is getting to know them. and getting to know like the ways that they can connect with their character and things like that, so that you can know what to draw on or what to help them draw on for their performance. And so because we just had so much history, that was just kind of, it was already there. So that also contributed to us being able to do it on such short notice in such a short amount of time. Yeah. And then also the other thing too that you said about how there's a lot of filmmakers who have been making films, and usually short films, since they were kids. I definitely agree that those are some of my favorite and some of my happiest and most vivid childhood memories. And it was so much fun being able to do that again as an adult, because I think filmmaking, even though, like you said, it's stressful, it can be stressful, but ideally that doesn't overshadow or overpower the fun. Like, it's supposed to be fun and it's supposed to be playful. And when it's, when it's at its best, I think it just feels like a whole bunch of people who are playing and having fun and having a good time making something together.
I mean, it is art, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so I suppose I could compare it to, like, maybe you're in a band, right?
Yeah.
In a music band, in a whatever. Music band sounds weird.
I can tell you're not in a band.
Right? But you're in a band and you got these gigs, and every single time that you go to play, before you get that to have that fun together where you just like, you play as one, right? Everybody's playing together, their instruments and everything. There's so much setup.
Yeah.
Just the drums, to set up the drum set and the microphones and the drum sets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Set up the guitars, and the amps and all these things, the foot pedals and all these things. And there's just so much work to do. But then once it's all for that one show.
Yeah.
Whether it's recorded or not, it's not the point. It's the point of that team, that band that gets to play together and perform.
Yeah.
And when you're in production, yes, it's been recorded, but in a way it is a performance. Everybody is performing to their beyond on film sets. I've worked on film sets where people have broken bones and not said a word.
Oh my goodness.
Beyond their capacity.
Yeah.
And everybody pulls in for each other. And the stress, when you're passionate about something, you work hard at something, and yes, it can be stressful, but you're looking at the other side. You're working to be on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And that is the special thing. I've always said it takes a special kind of people to make movies.
Yeah, I think so.
To make films. And you've got that. And I think that is when you find your family in the film industry together, that's going to be a very special thing, because you're going to complement each other.
Yeah. And
when you can do that, the difficulty in the filmmaking process, like instead of making a film in your, I'm not comparing this to anything you've done, but I'm just saying, just to compare it to this film shot on the phone, right? Mm-hmm. Where it was all in one room, and it was a 2-minute film and things like that, where somebody may go, well, that's easy. Well, it's still not easy. But when you've got your film crew, now you're talking about something where you're moving on to, say, 6 or 7 different film sets.
Yeah.
And you're having to dress up each location. And you've got to do the continuity. And you have some, actors that are, for feature films, right? You've got actors that got to deliver, and they got to do emotional scenes and action, some of the action, things like that. Yeah. So when you get a group of people that trust each other and work well together, the quality of the films improve that you work on together. And I think that a lot of people forget about that. Mm-hmm. They forget that. And that's how you grow as a director, Reka.
Yeah.
That each one, you're looking for that next challenge.
Yes.
And that's how you grow as a director and as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
where people will go, oh, a film by Reka Shikli. I'm definitely got to watch that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do. And it's, yeah, in some ways it's easier when it's, you know, really small, like a small team shot on an iPhone. I mean, there's definitely, even on some of the panels at the film festival, there were people talking about the ways that making a film or shooting it on a smartphone, it definitely opens up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities and makes it easier in some ways. And in other ways, it presents new challenges as well.
Yeah, it presents challenges as well. And I think some filmmakers that, like you, have worked on other films behind the camera, they're thinking, well, I'm so good at making films with my Red, right? Mm-hmm. My Ari, yeah. Whatever. I'm sure I can make a feature film with a smartphone. And then they get behind the smartphone camera and they're like, wait, how do people do this?
Yeah.
You know, because it's just not the same thing. There are, you know, irking differences. But in some ways, as you're working more and more behind the phone camera, the smartphone camera, things become easier and simpler in the way that now you can pay more attention as a director, right?
Yeah.
To your actors, the acting, you know, as a cinematography.
Yeah.
Cinematographer, you're paying attention to the lights, you know, and things like that. Mm-hmm. And you're able to pay attention to all the artsy stuff.
Yeah.
More than the technical aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Which on a traditional camera can drive you insane because there are only, you know, 50 cables that you got to plug in and attachments and all these different things that have to be right just to get that one, you know, 6-second shot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, so I think there's a benefit to it. Mm-hmm. And you might be willing to make a smartphone feature film at some point and be behind the camera.
Yeah.
Because as a director, that may be a simpler way for you.
Yeah.
To make that and have more control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And definitely seeing the feature films at the festival too was, yes, I think, inspiring to all of us. That was... we were all talking about them too, and just seeing what those two filmmakers were able to accomplish shooting on an iPhone and shooting feature films, and they're both so different, and just seeing the quality of them as well. I remember you mentioned at the festival how, and I think a lot of people did too, the filmmakers, that the quality of smartphone cameras just keeps getting better and better. And I think if you're able to, if you know how to use it well, if you're able to use your tools well, your phone, you very often can't tell what it was shot on. You can't tell that it was shot with a smartphone. And in that way, I think it's, in the spirit of indie filmmaking, I think shooting on an iPhone is probably the best way nowadays to do that, like just to keep things simple and accessible, because like not everyone has access to or can afford, like sometimes like those big expensive cameras like the Red 2. I mean, I was lucky that I was able to work with a cinematographer, 2, 3 who had their own cameras, and they were just like willing to work with us and give us a really good rate and all that. But it's like if you have to rent one of those, it's a huge cost. They're very expensive, and there's the insurance and everything. So yeah, just in terms
I was just gonna say the insurance is also a killer.
yeah. So just keeping things simple and keeping things definitely in the spirit and in the vein of independent filmmaking. I think shooting on a smartphone is the best way to go nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, give it. So I said this before, like we're over 100 years with film, going from film to digital and all that, but still traditional filmmaking.
Yeah.
And then it only took about 10 years for smartphones to catch up to be, so that people can make feature films with them.
Yeah.
So give it another, few years. And I mean, it's just the funny thing about films also is that a film that was shot, 20 years ago is still, if it's a great film, it's a great film. It doesn't matter what it was shot with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The audio is good. I mean, there's differences. You can hear the differences in the audio through the decades,
Mm-hmm.
You can see a little bit of difference in the visuals, well, quite a bit actually, depending. But a good film, people love to watch Jaws, for example. People love to watch Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, and all these films that are good. And I wouldn't put, I know people still think I'm crazy when I say this, but no, maybe not Lord of the Rings right now, but you can get pretty close to things like that as the film, the cameras on the phones are getting better. And one day, I mean, I know everybody talks about the sensors and the light and all this stuff, but I'm kind of a believer that there is that middle ground of what a really good film is, and the viewer, your fans, are not going to see the difference between you shooting something on a RED or on a smartphone in a couple years, because you're going to make outstanding films. Mm-hmm. And that's, from their perspective, that's what they want. Yeah. They don't care, about the little details of, high resolution and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And the other thing too is, I mean, I'm sure one day, or maybe even today, I haven't heard of it. I'm sure one day there's probably going to be phones that you can like use underwater even. Jaws Jaws reminded me of that, of like, the challenges that would come with, say, filming underwater. But I know especially in first films, like when you're just trying to kind of get your foot in the door, get some films under your belt, most of the advice that I've heard is just to work with what you have in terms of, like I said at the beginning, the people, the locations, even the equipment. And nowadays everybody has, or at least knows someone who has a smartphone and one with a decent camera. And maybe if your dream film is to make something like a huge epic underwater film, it's that's probably not going to be your first film, but it's you can work your way up to it.
What else could we share about you? Now, I know you have interest in acting as well. So what are the kinds of films that you would appreciate being cast for?
Oh, that's a good question.
I try.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of actors, myself included, I would love to play a role that's different from myself. I think that's the fun of, or part of the fun of acting is being able to like play roles and be in situations and say things that you never could or you never would in real life. Like I'm a very like a polite person in reality, and I think that's also part of the fun of writing too, is like, you can be very well behaved and hold your tongue when you have something happen to you in real life, but then in your writing or in your acting, you can just let that all go. And so I don't know, I'm very open in terms of like the type of role or the type of film, even just for watching. I enjoy films from every genre. So there's nothing really like that I would say I'm specifically looking for. I just think projects and roles that I connect with, and I would definitely I'd love to work on films just as an actor. That would definitely be a different experience because my last short that I did, I directed it and acted in it, which is its own special challenge. But I would love to work more as an actor.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that question because I wanted to put it out there. A lot of filmmakers listening, and now they have your Instagram, your IMDb, and they have ways of contacting you, and they get to know the things. I'm really glad that we got to finally speak. I think the bonding that you can do with your family when you're making films together like this is a very special thing. And I think for a lot of families, it can really bring them together and learn the skills that each other has to appreciate them, you know, as family members. You know, it's sometimes easy to say to your friend, oh, you're really good at this, you know, and sometimes it's not as easy to say something like that to your bratty sister or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to see it and be able to call it out and work on a film together where you have to point out those things.
Yeah.
You know, you did that line really well. You moved really well. You shot this very well, you know, things like that.
Yeah.
Can make a really much better relationship that can last a lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that a lot of people have, there can be mixed opinions on working with your family, especially in the long term, like having in business with them. But the thing about filmmaking is, you know, it's a project with a beginning and an end. So you can, if it's something you're interested in or curious about, you can try it out and see how you work together with your family. And it's also so fun getting to spend time with them and actually get to know them better in a new capacity, because it's a completely different experience from just the regular, you know, what's for dinner and that we do with the interactions that we have with our family. And so it's, yeah, I definitely say that being able to work together with them in this way has brought us closer, and it was such a fun and worthwhile experience just for the sake of the experience. Like, we honestly had such a good time making the film. And then, as I mentioned at the festival during the Q&A, you know, we didn't get the grant, like the original spark of why it's so not why we ended up making the film. Like, nothing came of that grant, but we had this experience, we worked together, and we got into your festival, which we never imagined that would happen for us, and that we would be in San Diego at the world premiere of our film that we made together. It's just been so unexpected in the best way.
You guys were very close. It's also, there's this other thing while you were talking about, you know, the experience as a family. I was thinking a lot of families, it's like, put that phone away. You're always looking at the phone, and it's like the phone was a big part of this experience. Yeah.
And it's it really comes down to we used the phone as a tool, and it so, you know, it depends on how you use it. It's able to connect people and to bring people closer together as well. I think people do sometimes forget the many uses and the benefits. Like, even just being here now in Europe with visiting my family, it's so amazing to be able to spend time with them in person. But even when I'm in Canada and they're here, like, we're so grateful that we're able to video chat and to still see each other and talk to each other. So yeah, definitely smartphones can help connect people and bring people together as well.
Yes. And I mean, I think, you know, they tell kids in schools, you know, put your phones away and things like that. It's like, well, why don't you instead show the students how you can use the phone in such a positive way that can really help connect each other and do something like this together. Might even help with bullying in schools, you know? So anyways, hey, is there anything else that you would like to bring up that we didn't get to share?
I don't know. You're such a good a good host. I think you covered pretty much everything that I can think of. I think you mentioned that my my Instagram, my IMDb, the trailer for my film, all that is going to be on in the show notes. But yeah, definitely, if anyone wants to reach out to connect, I'm on Instagram. I'm not super active on social media in the sense of I don't really post a lot. But that too, I like using social media as a tool to be able to connect with people and stay in touch with people. And yeah, I have YouTube videos and trailers for my films and things on YouTube as well as on Vimeo. And yeah, I think that's about it. Just currently in post-production on my next film, which I'm really, really excited about. It's I definitely, if filmmakers are able to, I definitely say having multiple things on the go, multiple projects on the go, at different stages is a very good and an important thing to be able to do. Partially because it can help keep you sane throughout the process. When one project
that is so weird. Most people would be like, "Are you crazy?"
Well, maybe
I can only focus on one thing at a time.
Yeah, well, maybe I.
But
can
you're
explain.
right, though.
So if you have the bandwidth for it, obviously, but because you can have one project that's falling apart or actually falls apart, or something terrible happens, but then you have another one that you can still work on, and that it can help give you some perspective, because otherwise if you only have one, it can just feel like that's everything and that's the only thing.
That's the end all.
Yeah, the be all end all. But obviously, it depends on your bandwidth, because even short films are big projects, and there's a lot of time and work and energy that goes into them.
You had a composer. I don't want to miss this.
Mm-hmm.
You had a composer for your film.
Yeah.
What did he compose? Did he do the sound effects or the music, or?
He did the music. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning this. I wanted to bring that up as well. So yeah, he is. He's not a member of our family. We don't have any.
What?
Yeah, not our biological family. Yeah. We don't have any composers in the family. But yeah, his name's Frank Dormani, and he was recommended to me. There was I reached out to a different composer who had composed a beautiful score for a short film that I really, really enjoyed. And so I had reached out to him to see if he would be interested in composing for Disquiet. And he was not able to at that time. And so he recommended Frank to me. I believe Frank is based in New York.
Well, I just wanted to give, let's do that really quick. Why don't you name everybody in the family to give them all a shout out?
Sure.
Now that we've already given Frank one, go for it.
Sure. Yeah. So Sofi Shikli, she plays the girl, the star of the film. Laszlo Shikli, he's the man with a supporting role. Kinga Shikli is the cinematographer, my mother. Frank Dormani is the composer. And Greg Weaver was the props master. He provided the glasses that we broke. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's you.
Yes.
Reka.
Yes.
Remember that name, because it's going to be coming up. And who knows? Maybe we'll get to see you again, whether you have a film or not. If you want to come and visit San Diego, we'd love to have you in the film festival. You're part of our family now, so don't forget that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And yeah, I have actually filmed some more short films on the iPhone since then, actually. So
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, I definitely will be submitting again, and I would recommend it to anyone who has an interest, because it's such a great experience. And I mean, it's worthwhile, even if if you're not able to actually go in person to the festival, but if you are able to, it's such a great experience.
Yeah, you get a little more out of it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, my love to your family. Big hug to you. And I guess that's it. Reka, say goodbye to our listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susie. A big hug to you as well. I'll definitely pass your wishes on to my family. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I hope you found some of this helpful or inspiring or interesting. And definitely reach out if you want to get in touch. Thank you so much for your time.